So how do you follow that? That's tricky. So I'm British, you can tell by the accent. And to be honest, I spent 32 years covering up my feelings, and now I'm on stage in front of 200 people, trained as an engineer, software, to talk about emotion. And actually, why Hyperloop? Hopefully we've got some slides that are going to come up in a second. And I'm from Hyperloop 1. Now, Hyperloop was formed 2-3 years ago, really to challenge the journey that we all experience today when it comes to time and space. And I think we've all experienced moments like this, where you really want to get home from a conference, you really want to get across the city to your child, but you can't because of the traffic, because of the modes of transportation we have today. We get angry, we get frustrated. And realistically, it's not just people in this country, where we are now, in actually a very privileged position on the West Coast. And Hyperloop's been, if we can go to the, yeah, there we go. We've really been created based on ideas from Elon Musk, based on vacuum train technology from the 1800s, to try and reinvent transportation in terms of times and space. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, it means from where we are in Las Vegas now to Los Angeles, through a frictionless transit system of the future. It could be 2.5 hours, probably longer, on a flight. It's just 30 minutes. Now, what does that actually mean? Ultimately, the urban area today for Las Vegas is, well, to be honest, at CES, is between here and the convention center. Other times, you might make it 5 miles. In the future, with Hyperloop technology connecting Las Vegas to Los Angeles to San Francisco to San Jose, it opens up all of these different possibilities. And that's not just about the fantastic technology of the future. It's changing the way people can interact, people can work. Suddenly it'd be possible to visit your relatives at the weekend, your relatives in an evening. We could sit here now and say, wouldn't it be great to eat seafood on Santa Monica Pier? And that'd be an hour and 10 minutes away. Really, and our key selling point, not just in the US but elsewhere, is we're turning metro areas into stops. We're changing the way people in the future will work, will commute, will interact with each other in so many different settings. And we're doing that through technology. We're doing this through technology that actually already exists. Before Christmas, we hit 240 miles an hour, 18 miles north of here in the desert, through low-pressure tubes, through electromagnetic propulsion, through autonomous control platforms that we see in the autonomous vehicles and autonomous aircraft of today. But really, from my perspective, looking after the software for this incredible new technology, it's really not about all of the bits and the bytes, the cloud computing. It's about actually the user experience and the pain points we have from transportation today, and really try to solve those with what is the first new form of transportation, with a blank sheet of paper from an engineering perspective in over 100 years. On demand. I don't know how many people here took some sort of rideshare, a Lyft and Uber from the airport or at all this week? Quick show of hands. How many people saw that it was on demand, pressed the button and waited 15 minutes? Probably, yeah, just as many people, unfortunately. That's actually not the compelling user experience that we deserve. That's not what you get from a train today. How can we fix this going forwards? Well, actually through the technology, through direct-to-destination technology, through the traceability that's being enabled through the apps environments going forwards. We have this vision of a frictionless experience where you use your first mile transportation to the portals of the future. You're guided through instantaneously, and then an on-demand pod is instantly allocated. We know when you're going to arrive. You're grouped with other people going to a similar destination. You're allocated a seat in the pod, and you're away straight away. Journeys should not be about the departure time. They should be about when you arrive. Realistically, as well, we're moving into a phase where we need to be very efficient with our environment. This comes from the energy perspectives, as well as the noise and the impact we have on the landscape. I'm from the UK. We spent a lot of time over the last 15 years talking about high-speed rail and the impacts that has on countryside, where you have this huge amount of concrete, of cuttings into the infrastructure put through. The noise that affects the environment, the wildlife around it, you can't, as a deer, safely cross a high-speed rail track. With Hyperloop technology, which is basically a water pipe evacuated from an air perspective with the electromagnetic propulsion, there is no noise on the outside. We had a press release that went out that basically said it's a small whoosh, and that's about right. From an energy perspective, because there is no air friction, there are no moving parts, there's no rubbing surfaces, it's incredibly efficient. And just like the electric cars, the Teslas we have today, we regain 80% of the energy we put into that system on the way back out. Hugely more efficient than the existing mass forms of transportation that we have today, even taking into account the steel and the limited concrete that you need to put the infrastructure in the first place. But the really big bit that will change people's lives is the speed. 670 miles per hour. Now, our big challenge at the moment, speaking really openly, I have a PR person in the audience, is not that this is not doable. We've done it. It's convincing governments, it's convincing, realistically, Western Europe and the US that this is something that we need. If we look at the route planning and the areas that we've already got today, through the new application that we're launching at CES, we can see that this is real. We'll show a video in a few minutes to demonstrate the dev loop, demonstrate the technology. But actually, we're being challenged from a Hyperloop perspective to say, well, why now in 2018 are you talking about an app? Why are you talking about user experience? This isn't real. Well, actually, from this blank sheet of paper that we have of as a technology, if we agree that Hyperloop is only a backbone between cities in the future, and that we do need an entire ecosystem of other transportation options to fit into this ecosystem, we're doing the right thing. Figuring out and understanding people's pain points, not just in Las Vegas, not just in Los Angeles, not just in the US, but in all of these other potential countries in Africa and India and Asia, where we can change people's lives on a day-to-day basis. And if we understand that now through the power of the applications, through the power of the smartphone, we will be able to make a huge difference when we go to that next level. Hopefully, some of you will have time to go to the Here booth at CES, and it is at the convention center. I know what a pain that is. Have a look at it. But we really mean it when we say that we want comments. We want to work with ecosystem partners in order to take it to the next level. We have a fantastic team of 300 people. We've tried to recruit them from diverse places, not just in the US, but around the world. We have teams in Dubai, in Europe. We have teams in Australia and New Zealand, looking at these different technologies and looking at how they relate to the transit problems that they have in those different areas. But what I kind of need to finish on is, this is real. This is 20 miles away. This does 240 miles an hour in a vacuum tube. So that's 0 to 240 and back to 0 in a quarter of a mile. And that took us 10 months to build. Now, if we can do that with a small team to solve literally billions of people's transport issues from intercity connections, or north-south connections, east-west connections in the future megacities, what could we do if we can build this ecosystem around it? With civil partners, with infrastructure partners, with technology partners? And how can we recreate the railroads, but focusing on the journey and getting the interactions with people, which is actually why we travel? We have a video for you now.
All parties ready for test? Firing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody, that brings us